My name is Ellen Inowitz Condon. My father is an Irishman. His name is Thomas Condon. And my mother is a full-blood Nikosi Indian. I learned a lot from her, being the mother. My father said I had to listen to my mother and do what she wants me to do, so that's what I had a big family, but I kind of took my mother's word, and a lot of them think that I shouldn't have so many children, but to me, the children are God's gift, and that's where I took them. And every one of them were dearly to me. I raised every one of them. Two of them, one got in a car accident, one of my boys, and two babies died when they were small. And the rest of the family, they grew up, and I was pretty close with my family. Every place I went, I took them along. Back to my mother, she told me that being a woman, I had to live the woman's life, and she told me that the woman's life is behind a man, and you have to do what your man tells you to do. And when I grew up, I learned a lot from my father too. He worked out in the hayfield with team and wagon and stuff like that, that I had to go out. I was about 6 years old when I started riding horses. About 9 years old, I was out in a hayfield helping my brothers. One day, the hired men didn't come, so I went and took the lawnmower, or the mower out, and I rode in it and drove it. And I was just about through when I was disturbed by a horse coming close to me. So I tried to stop the horses, but they just took without moving the sickle at all. And when it passed that, well, it started to go, so I got down, and I shouldn't have done it, but I kind of hit those horses. And here was a white man that was looking for my father. So I told him that he was home. So he went that way, so I started in again. And then at noon, my father hitched up the rake, so then I was out in the rake all afternoon, and by evening, my mother, she shines a mirror at me to come home. So she done that, so I had this little spot to go, and I wanted to get it finished, so I let the horses trot. And here I dropped one rein, so I just went round and round, and pretty soon I let that, but I used to strap myself to the seat because I couldn't reach that pedal. Anyway, I unstrapped myself, and I went, kind of crawled over and touched the horse on the hips. It just really took off with me. But I just hung on, and finally I got to the front and pulled the reins. I said, whoa, and here they just stopped short, so I fell in front of them. And so then I went home and I told my father, I said, I had 2 accidents today. And he said, well, my girl, you have to have something to realize that you have to be careful. So he didn't even pity me or nothing. And after the men folks came, they start the haystack, and that was a kind of experience to me, because I had to drive the team, and I had to, turn one horse, and then turn the other horse. That's the way I had to run that. And about late in the afternoon, I was bringing a load, and here I seen a snake come up in front of me like that, and it went in the hay part. So then I got scared and started moving back, and when I put the hay up against that, where they're going to roll it up, backed out, I sat down, and here I fell. I fell, and my head got caught. But then my brother was standing so far from me, so he ran and moved the other horse, so it went the other way, and I had to, I fell out, and I almost broke my neck that time. And my brother said to be careful because, you know, anything can happen to you. Well, I didn't know the danger till I had to go through those things to know what danger is. So that was the way I helped my brothers put up their hay during the summer. And then we had to, my brother and I, my youngest brother and I had to do all the running around and, you know, like feeding the chickens. And my dad usually has a brooder that he raises about 500 little chicks, and we have to take care of them. I had my brother, Bud, and then I had my niece, Rose, and my nephew, Pat Condon. These two all to stay with us. We were all about the same height, so we all worked together. And it seemed like there's all this work, but it didn't bother us because we're always together and, you know, always do things together. And on Saturday and Sunday, my mother makes sure that we stay home with her. So we go to, they call it the YPF, Young People Fellowship at the church. And I was the president, so we used to go, but we didn't know much about anything. My mother used to hold the meetings for me, and I'd like to sing, so I always be singing, and they gave us some songbooks. So I was teaching these other children how to sing, and we used to have a lot of fun. A lot of them couldn't say the words right, but, you know, just keep on going. And we had a lot of, and then when we're done with our meeting, we go back to our place. That's the only time I'm in Cherry Creek is, you know, during the church meeting or some kind of gathering powwow or something like that. But that's just, in that days we only had the New Year's, George Washington's birthday, Indian Day, 4th of July, and Armistice Day. We had only 5 dances a year. That's all was allowed. We never had dances every night or anything. Just so there, we kind of look forward to those because we go to them. And my mother used to sing with the men folks, and she had a loud voice. You could hear her all over when she's singing. So they always say, "Gee, your mother's got a beautiful voice. Why don't you sing like her?" And I tried it one time, and I sounded more like a man. There's a lot of things that happened to us, you know, like when they butcher, my dad would cut up the meat and get eggs together, dress some of the chickens, and then they put them in boxes, and then my brother and my nephew and niece and I would put them in a wagon and we'd go down Cherry Creek. We'd pass it out among the elderlies, and when we stop someplace, they'll say, "That white girl is here now," you know, like they were expecting me. So I'll tell them, "I'm the white girl, I'm a Lakota, you know, I can talk better Indian than some of these people around here," I'll tell them, and they'd laugh at me, and they invite us in for, they might have soup on the stove or something. They give us soup, and they give us tea. So that's the way. And then Mom would send stuff for the women folks, and she'd make dresses or a pair of moccasins for somebody. We have to deliver them. She couldn't walk, but she did all that. She made all them moccasins, and she made dresses for the women. So a lot of those women kind of expect my mom to, you know, do all that. And at that time, we didn't know what money was or anything because we had everything, and I always thought, you know, everybody was the same. And but we had to go out and, you know, pass these things around. When we come back, why, sometimes in return, some of them give something to my mother, and we would bring it back for her. That's another thing that we had to do almost every other day. And we live about 5 miles southeast of Cherry Creek there, so we couldn't walk over there, and we had to go in a team or horseback. Then on Sunday afternoon, we go to church, and Mom makes lunch, and we have after church we have dinner together and games and stuff like that. And then we go back. That's the only time we go into Chair Creek for anything. And when I started to school, I understood English, so it wasn't bad because my father talked English to us and we talked Indian to him because my mother didn't understand English. So then, first day of school, I went to school and here a lot of them didn't know what the teacher was saying, so they all came around me and asked me what she said and all that. So I'll tell them, and I was more like an interpreter for them. And I was a little girl too, like they were, and they'll say, how come you can understand English? Don't you talk? And I said, yeah, I talk if I have to. If I talk to a white man, I'll talk English. But you're an Indian, so I'll talk Indian to you. And there was a lot of girls and boys. There were big boys and girls went to school, and we were all in the same grade because they just started to school. Some were about 12, 13 years old. And that's how our school started. My dad was the one that they asked for that government school in Chair Creek. Him and there was two other men. There was four of them, but two of them came up with him, and they went to the courthouse, and I guess they asked for that school, so they granted that. But before that was like a public school. It was about 5 miles west of Chair Creek there. But after they built a school there, then we all went to school there. And then I was about 9 years old. My mother said, my girl, you're going to boarding school. She said, it's a long ways off, but she said, you're going to go to school and learn to talk English. And you already know, but she said, you have to be careful because it's a military school and we don't agree with that, she said. So, but when you go, don't let them run over you. Don't let them, just do the right thing you've been doing and tell them that you. So then when I went to school at the old agency, this group of girls would all sit in a corner. They were like Dora Brewer and all them they all went to school. Mary Ida, they were all little girls too. So I used to interpret for them. I'd go to them and I'd talk for them, and sometimes they have a plan of running away and all that, and I always talk out of them, make them stay. We didn't have much of anything then. They took all our clothes and put it away, and they gave us like hickory dresses for every day. Then we have good dresses they call them uniforms for church. We had them. Then we took a bath once a week. We all had to take a bath. And, everything we had to do together. Like if some of us have money, we'd have to go downtown. They'd group us up and they'd march us down to the store and buy what we want. We're down there an hour and then they march us back. And when we go to eat our meals, we have to line up and march to the dining room. And when we're done, they line us up and they march us out of the dining room. And sometimes some of them get shaken up or they grab them by the hair and, they never touched me, so I didn't have nothing to complain about. But these children start complaining that they want to go home because they didn't like how they were treated. Sometimes they'd be sitting there and they'd tell them, you stand up, you come here. They go, and they make them stand in the corner for nothing. They don't even know why they're standing there. And that's because they think they're talking Indian. And that Indian was no for everybody. But I could talk, so I'll just, kind of argue with the matron sometimes. She said, don't get too mouthy. She said, you're just like the rest of the girls. I said, I know I am. I'm not being sassy. I'm just telling you what the girls are saying to you. Some of them said they wanted, napkins or something for their own use. They can't say it, so I have to tell it for them. And kind of in a fun, like, too, like people say things, and it sounds funny, but they mean business. Them girls meant business by wanting to, the matron to know how they feel about these things. There's a lot of experience that, like my brother was a little boy, he was about 6 years old or something like that when he came to school, and he always likes to take a nap. And so one time he was taking a nap and he just lay downstairs, so they left him. Everybody gone, he didn't know he was sleeping. Here he got punished for it, they whipped him for it. And so that was one thing that I didn't like, so I went over there and I stuck up for my brother. Told him that, they should have noticed where they are, take care of them and all that. And so pretty soon they kind of treat us a little better than how we were treated. We had to speak up for ourselves, and they couldn't because they didn't know any word of English at all. That's where I met a lot of these girls, like they're all about my age, have families of their own and all that. I met a lot of them over there, and my mother said she had her first cousin. Her name was, she called her Little Nellie. So I was going around with this girl, and I said, I'd like to know my Aunt Nellie. I said, this Mom calls her Little Nellie. I said in Indian, Little Nellie. And here she said, my mom's named that. She said, no, maybe it's her. So then that Saturday she came up to see her, so she said that, I was looking for Little Nellie, and here it was her. So she was my aunt that I, found out. So after that we got acquainted, and he got along real good. He used to, check me out to go back with them. And my mother sent spending money for me, and I never did touch it because the teachers or the boys' advisor or the one that works down in laundry, they always kind of hire me like to clean the rooms and stuff. So on Friday I make about $5 altogether for the work that I did for them. And they had Pat and Rose, Bud, and I, there was 4 of us. I give them each $1 and I keep $2. That's the way I had my spending money too. And sometimes some of the children don't get nothing from their parents. They ask me if I could give them a quarter or 50 cents. If I have it, I give it to them. And I don't ask for it back. I just give it to them because they're my relatives, My mom and my father brought me up to share with people. If they're my age, share with them because they're my relatives. So that's how I used to, help out people. And I got along with everybody, even the white people. I got along with them because of the things that I did for them. And we had a baseball team, and we go out and practice, and I used to pitch, and then I used to make home runs too. They called me Baby Ruth's sister. But I like all kinds of sports. I used to play basketball when I was 13 years old. I played in the A-team basketball that year because I was kind of fast with the ball. So, and I thought that was something, playing ball. We used to practice, and they were all big girls. I went between a girl's legs so they couldn't forget that we were practicing, and this girl came towards me and she looked taller, like her legs were long, so I just went between her legs. And so they always tell that too. So, right from the beginning, I always feel that no matter what, we have to be in a society, they call it. And whatever I do, I always feel like, I have to do it or get lost, just get away from it. But I'm always, especially in the church, I joined the altar guild. I was about 12 years old when I was in the altar guild, and they made me the president, and I was in the, of course, I've always been in the YPF since I was a little girl, I guess. And my mother always be singing hymns, and she'd be saying the Lord's Prayer and all that. And I used to stay right, say it with her because I slept with her and all that. So when she's singing, I'd get the words. So when she died, well, this aunt of mine invited me to a women auxiliary meeting, and they made me the president of the women auxiliary that time. And she gave me a hymn book and a prayer book. So I took it home, and I prayed on it, and I wanted to learn how to read Indian. I took it and I said the Lord's Prayer, and each word, what it means, I could say it till I know it's all there. Then the Apostles' Creed and all that. I learned it in a week. I could, read and Lakota hymns, and I can sing them too. So then we had our first meeting, and I had it in Lakota, so the women were really surprised. They said, who learned you that? So I said, I had to learn by myself, but I know my mother sings them. She says them and sings them, so that's where I learned from her. So that, I didn't have to write it in Indian or anything. I just learned how to read and write. And then she always tells me how 1, 2, 3, and all that. She went to school for a while too, and she said she was 16 years old when she went to school. And this Mary Traversy was their teacher. She was Dupree, Ender Dupree's mother or grandmother, and she was a young lady then. She said, I was almost as old as the teacher, she said. But they started a school right in Plum Creek, so that's where they went to school. But when I went to school, I had to go to school half a day and work half a day. And the last detail they gave me, I worked at the hospital, and I like to work with patients. So I used to take care of the elderlies and the ones that are crippled up, the young kids. And they talk Indian, so I'll have to tell it to the doctor what they're saying. And I kind of liked it up there too. I'd go up and, well, here's Ellen now, she's here too. And it makes me feel good when they depend on me, because I know I'm doing the right thing by helping out people. So that's one thing I learned, was to help people, and anytime somebody comes to me and say, you said this and you said that, I said, I don't have time to be talking about like that. I got too much things to do. And that's where I busy myself all the time. And I always tell my children, you children better busy yourself. Don't listen to what you have to. You listen to that, you're going to go on the wrong track. So after I started raising my children, they were a blessing to me, because I had them, I had my work to do, and I'm always working. And I had this team, I had 3 set of team, I had some saddle horses, I had a wagon and everything. I took them all to Rudy Creek, because that's where my husband lived. And the first day that I was to marry him, I told my mom I didn't want to marry. I didn't want to get married, because I was going to Bismarck for a nurse training. I was going to go to nurse schooling. I told her I didn't want to get married. And she said, well, in Indian ways, she said, your brother is the one that gave you away, so you have to obey your brother. You can't say no, she said. She started crying, so then I cried with her, and when they came for me, I just told them I wasn't interested in this marriage at all because I'm too young and, you know, I don't know nothing. And my mother-in-law said, you'll learn as you go along. She said, you learn to cook, you learn to do things. Well, I learned a little cooking because I always helped my mother. And no matter what they put me through, I was already, you know, had experience of it or did the things, so it didn't bother me. And when I started to school and start to do things, I worked in a place where they make dresses and stuff. I made my own dress and all that in a hurry, so she wanted to know where I learned that from. I said, well, I started to know how to sew and know how to make moccasins, beaded moccasins for little boys or little kids. I had to make a pair of moccasins for my younger brother because he started Indian dancing, so I had to make him a pair of moccasins. So when I was about 12, 13 years old, I knew how to make moccasins. And my mother would sit there and make a pair of moccasins. She'd have it done in a day. And me, it takes me about a week to just do the beadwork on it. So that's the way I learned. And we had more time with our families. We stayed by our families. We had time to play, we had time to work. We did all that. We never lay around or sit around. The only time we sit around is by evening after supper. We sit around and sing and, you know, do things. Then there were some older people that come and visit us, and they had their pipes with them. And my mother said, well, my cousin's here, they're gonna have a ceremony, but don't you tell anybody. She said, you tell them you're gonna put them all in jail, she'd say to us. So when they come, the police would come and want to know where the men folks are, and we just don't know where they're at. And there they all go down to the river. There's a willow, you know, just willows down there. So they go in there and they make their sweat lodge down there, and they sweat down there. They come back up. Then they, when they come back up there, well, then they have kind of a ceremony, like, you know, fix it, and then they open the tent door. So they'll always be sitting in a corner or sitting in the doorway listening to them talk. They're old people, like, I knew they're all dead now, but at that time they were elderly then. And Mom had a lot of respect for them. She always had meat and stuff ready for them to eat when they get through. So at a certain time, they all come in from Ridgecapel, Bridger, and Cherry Creek, even from Thunder Butte and Arlington. They all go down there and spend a couple of days down there, and then they come back up again. So there's always somebody at our place. So, you know, I always think that, you know, everything was there for us. I didn't know we had to buy our stuff and all that. My dad takes a lumber wagon at the end of the month, and then he buys, like, he buys by cases and brings it back, and we had a long, they call it ice house. They put layers of ice down in there, and they had they're kind of hooks, like, they're kind of, they hang up, and they have quarter beef or pork or whatever cut down, it all hangs in there. Mom dries some of it, and some of it's froze in there. And like chickens and stuff, they dress them and they put them down in there. So when people come and they want food and stuff, they go down and just give, you know. So it seemed like our place was a relief center or something, but at that time I didn't know. I thought we had to give out, so that's all we did was help people out. And we still do, at least I do. You still help them out. And when I got married, things had to change for me, but I couldn't change them at all because, you know, I was brought up that way. My husband was kind of a selfish man. He didn't want to do things for other people, but I always talked him into helping people. And then there was a rodeo, so we were standing there and here, and one of them got bucked off and kicked and everything. And my brother told me to go see, and so I went over there, and here he had 2 places was broken in his leg. So they straightened that out, and then they put like a wire, there was no board, so they put sticks on there and they wrapped it up. And they took him to the hospital. And they wanted to know who found out the accident. They told him I did. So then they, after that, that doctor tells me everything, so I had to use that. And then kids drink kerosene. That's after I was married. They drink kerosene, or somebody's fevered, somebody's got convulsions. I'm there to help them. I was just a young mother then. And, you know, it didn't bother me because there's no doctor, nobody down there. So I've been taking first aid in a Girl Scout, so I knew what to do, you know, how to treat them and all that. But in the summertime, we have a lot of diarrhea going on, and some of them might fall off a tree and break an arm and stuff. So the kids always call me a nurse, and then one called me the relief woman. They always be, you know, giving me names. And I said, after I've been through all that, and then I go to the council to have district meetings. I go in there and I take my baby along, and that was Beverly. She'd sit there and sit through that meeting without a sound, and then come back. They always say, "What'd you do to her? You pinch her, or you know?" I said, "I don't do anything. You just tell her to sit still, and that's all." I said. So that's the way all my children were. They were quiet. To go to church, the older boys sit in the front row, and I sit with the little ones way in the back seat. And they sit still till after church, and I come out with them. And if I go to the store or any place, I take them all with me. They're all right behind me. Then we'll come back out again. And there's an old Chief Whiteboot, they call him. He used to live down Cherokee, and he'd be sitting in the doorway. And I had Beverly with me, and I was carrying her, Bernie, and I went into the store. I bought my stuff and came out, and here, that old man came, and he don't hear, but he can see. He put his arm out, so I went like that, shook hands with him. He said, "You're a nice woman carrying your little sister around." I said, "That's even my child." He said, "I've been watching you." He said, "You're a nice woman," he said. I said, "Well, thanks." I said to him. He didn't understand me either, but I said thanks, you know, to him. And I thought that was something. I went home and told my mother. I said, "You know what Grandpa Whiteboot said? He said, I'm a good woman taking my little sister around. That's even my baby." So there was a lot of experience that I've been through. And then, like, if I'm in a store, there's people there wanting things they don't know how to send. Then I have to interpret for them, then I leave. One of them called me back, and he wanted to give me $5 for talking for him. I said, "No." I said, "Uncle, you don't pay me." I said, I know what you want, and I just talk for you." "Well, I've been paying others to talk for me." He said, "Well, how come you don't want my money?" I said, "Well, I'm sorry, but I can't." So he gave it to my little boy. He was standing there, so he gave it to him. So that's kind of the stuff I did for the people. You know, I never asked for pay. Like now, today, someone say, "How come you look so strong? You can get around." I said, "I think I live with God, that's why." You know, I'd say that in the morning and evening, and I ask for His blessings for the day. And we should all remember why we're here, you know, and that's one of the main things that I live by. Even my children all come and visit me, all take off to their places. Tell them, "Well, you'll be back." And they said, "Mom, aren't you lonesome for me?" And I said, "I am, but I can't help it. You got a family to take care of." But I'll be here when you come. So that's what they expect. I'll be here when they come. So that's my my life, I guess you can call it. But I have you know, I have so many things happen to me that I don't know where to start from again, you know, because um, like one day I was getting the baby ready for bed, and here they came after me and, "Are you busy?" So I said, "Yes, with my baby." And said, "Well, we need you right away. Can you come?" So then I put my baby in my mother's lap and I took off. And here this woman was having a baby. So I went over there and I felt of her stomach and I see the baby's way down. But I always, you know, see the hospital. I always, you know, want to go in and see how they're having them. Maybe someday I might help them take an OB and for them and all that. So then, but my mother was a midwife, and so she's the one that told me how to uh, deliver the baby. So when I went there, I put my hands on it and I could feel that baby's real, like the butt is up here. And I pushed down on it like that and here it started to move. So then I said, "Well, I guess you'll just have to push it out." And she laughed about it, and about 30 minutes her baby was born, everything's out, and had it all cleaned. And I read and she said, "Gee," she said, "you got miracle hands." I said, "Don't say that. You know, I don't." But my nephew had, he's a minister for the Body of Christ, and he said I had oil in my hands to give blessing to the babies. I said, "Thanks, I need that because I'm delivering a baby now and I'll be needing it for that." So that's what I use whenever I deliver a baby. I always ask God to bless my hands. Then I deliver the baby. So there's one woman, she was about 36 years old and her first baby, and she couldn't have it. So they came after me and I went up there about 8 o'clock and I was there and I see how the baby was moving and I could feel the head over here and the feet over here. So every now and then I'd kind of rub her and, you know, kind of move that baby back. I was doing that for her and she said, "Oh," she said, "I can't push anymore." She said, "I've been pushing since 11 last night." She said, "That's about 24 hours ago," she said that. So I said, "Well, you're a mother, so you're going to have to pray with me." So we prayed together and I had my hands on her like that, and here all of a sudden just the whole thing just moved like, and then the head went down. And then about a half hour later the baby came out, but the baby was just so tired and all that, just pure white, you know, no life in her. So I blew it in her mouth and start calling her name in Indian and start saying to her in Indian. Here she started to cry. Way down there she started crying. And pretty soon her voice came out and she just cried. So I told her, I said, "This is a miracle baby. You better take good care of it because," I said, "you have to." She said, "How can I? My mother-in-law is so strict with me." So I said, "Well, you tell your mother-in-law she's old-fashioned. You got to live this new life with a baby. You have no milk. You have to have formula." And I wrote out the formula for her and gave it to her. So that baby lived till it was 2.5 months old. And she finally, I guess they made her nurse it even though she didn't have no. I told them she can't do that. She's too old. I mean, she's not enough fresh milk at all. Unless if I nursed it. I was nursing a baby then. And so I delivered 17 babies. and 5 miscarriages, save the mothers. And I always feel that, God helped me through all that. And that's the one thing I have to be thankful for every time. And like today, things are so modern and everything, and still it's not the same as it used to be. Like the babies that I delivered, see some of them on the street now, like Larry Inwood is one of them. They brought him up here and they got me, so I went, had her in front of the lantry, right on the approach there. So then they turned back with it. All this, everything I do, my little ones all follow me around, so they always, I said, you kids go, well, we want to see what you're doing. We want to help. It's, like today, when they're going to go to school, the kids want new clothes, all that. My children never ask for new clothes. I always prepared for them. Like in June, I buy them clothes to wear to school, keep that up till school starts, and then they all have their clothes too. I never did bother anybody, because Mom said you're not supposed to bother anybody. They're your children. You do the best you can for them. Hello. It's off.
It's off?
Yeah, we're busy right now, so we got it off.
Okay.
Go over there to, what's the name? Bryce's or Sheldon. Use their phone. All my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and even being in the way of everything, you have to respect yourself and respect the older people. As you come along, when you have your first menstruation, your mom knows about it. Right away, she gets an old lady to come in and sit with you for 4 days. She's done that with me. I sat with my grandma that's her aunt, so she's my grandma. I sat with her for 4 days. She showed me how to sew, showed me how to make moccasins. I already knew how, so I made a pair of moccasins in no time for her. And then she made me sew some quilt tops. And after I had the blocks all made, well, then she had me make the betweens to get the quilt together. And in 4 days, I made a quilt, a pair of moccasins. Then she had me make a wasna. That's the Indians use that, like Sundance, they use that wasna. And that's a daily life for us, because my mom used to make it and put it on the table. And if you want cookies or anything, you can take a handful of that and eat it, because it got sugar in it. And so then she had me this anyway, the cinnamon, they call it. They make it into a shred, and you make a whole bunch of that. I made a whole bunch of that, and then she had me make it's out of a tan hide, like a deer hide. She had me tan that too. And I had to tan it so I get all that hair off of it. And then when I'm done with that, I had to oil it. I had to do everything with my hand for that. And then put it on the side to let it dry. And then she had me, she said, now, she said, you have to use a mop, wipe the floor around you where you sat. She said, so I went and mopped it the last day. I mopped it, and she said, this is a white way of life, mopping the floor, she said. In our days, we used to have a tarp, just shake it out and put it out again and put our stuff on there. She said, today you have to have floors, you gotta wash the floors, keep them clean. Then make sure you have needles, pins, anything sharp off the floor so the baby don't get it. And she just told me everything I had to do. And I think that's why it helped me to this day, because I keep telling my children that. I said, you get a basket and put their dirty clothes in. Get the garbage can, put the trash in that. You know, I keep on them. I said, Mom, I know what I'm supposed to do, you know. And when I turn around and be gone a day and come back here, I see clothes laying around. I said, what did I say about everybody starting? And, you know, that's the way the Indians lived. The Indians were on the move all the time, and they were prepared. Their children, when you say shh, that means hush. Everybody's quiet. Here today, you can't tell children nothing. You tell them something, they're still doing it, you know. And that's because to us, we fed our babies, we gave them breastfeeding. That's out of us, so we have to teach our children how to. And I've been teaching all my children. I had 10 of them out of 13. And I've been teaching the boys what to do for their women, what they have to do for their men when they get married. And some of them live the way they should live. They're living a good life. Some of them are drinking and all that. They're having bad time because they're trying to get themselves together, but they can't. Some of them are trying now. Some of them quit drinking and they're trying. But they should have done it a long time ago to me. And sometimes even my own nephew comes out and says, oh, you're so perfect, you're so... I said, I'm not perfect. I'm just like you are. Only I'm trying to live a life of my own so I don't bother anybody. You're bothering your people. You're bothering yourself. You have to quit that. Then you'll be much happier. Now he quit drinking and everything, and he runs his own, you know, he works for the school and runs a bus and all that. Now he has a better life and a happy life, which he never had before. A lot of my niece and nephews that are in Cherry Creek, you know, I tell them that you should live this life and live that life. What's good and what's bad. I tell that to my family, and I say, the ones that listen to me are having a good life, and the ones don't listen are still down here with me. You know, they come back from my help, they want money and all that. I give it to them because they're my children. And they say, you don't give it to them. And I said, no, well, they have to eat. Your children have to eat. I look out for the children. And when they come on me, they're drinking, I call the cops and it's better take him in until he sobers up. I don't want him around here. And they take him out. Now I don't do that anymore because they don't drink. I don't have anything else to, so I don't do that anymore. But I want to see all that before I leave them. I want them to be on their feet, and I want them to, you know, be on their own. My mother always said, she called my name and come up to her and she'd say, I want you to sit down. I'd sit down and she'd start talking to me what I should do and how I should live. And I listened to her, and when she's done, I go. And that's the way we're supposed to live, because they're our mothers. They're the ones that born us, and we have to live the way they want us to live. And she's had her mistakes too, but she told me her mistakes not to do it, so I never did any of them. To this day, I'm still here. And you know, people get all excited because babies start to choke and couldn't breathe, and then they bring a baby to me and take the baby, and it's all right. So I don't see anything wrong with it. So I always think that, you know, some of them just do that to test me, but I'm not afraid. I worked in the hospital for 5 years in the nursing department. I was a nurse aide for a while, and I saved some of those babies that come into the hospital that were dehydrated bad. But before long, they're back on their feet again because I'm giving them water with spoon, eyedropper, anything. Put water in their mouth. Pretty soon they start getting their strength back. And it's just up to the mother. So when the mother comes, I tell them, you know, you should have done this, you should have done this. This is what all this baby needed was you to feed him, you to help him. Because she can't do it by herself. You have to do it. And, you know, there's simple things that causes death, too, in the children. And that's up to the mother. And sometimes they take the child and just set it on the mother's lap or the father's lap, and he doesn't know what to do with it. And I think that's, to me, I never depend on a man. I lived with a man for 32 years, and I couldn't be feeding my children and him, so I told him, you go on your own. I'll take care of my children. But he never did go away. He just hung around the kids, and now he's so helpless, he's in a nursing home, and the children are all, he wants them all around him, but they all have a family of their own. They have to take care of their own families. They come and see him, they bring him things. There's one without any children, so he's taking care of him. But right now he's on kind of the Sundance, he had to let him go. So he has a daughter that he took one daughter away from me, and he kind of brainwashed her when she was young, but she never did leave my side either. She's always coming to me. And I always, you know, I like my children for that. They care for me, and they all show me how much they love me. But I don't expect that from them all the time, but at least they show it once a year to how they feel about me. And that's a thank you I get for raising them. Well, in the family itself, they kind of keep everybody together, you know, and have everybody working and doing things that they have to do, of things that are happening, not to get too much into it because it'll come and go, it'll fly away. But in the meantime, you have to work with the other people too, you know, to have them have a feeling that that's there, but not to put their mind into it, because a lot of times, you know, things happen that shouldn't happen at all, and that's usually get over that.
How did your parents demonstrate their feelings, their sadness, their happiness, and their, you could speak about anger?
In my time, you know, we never had sadness or anything on the bad side, because they want us to be happy, that, you know, we have to keep going. and be happy about everything. And what we do, people come in and we share with them, and they share with us. So that's the way we always get over our, whatever we worry about. Because, like my dad, he always tells us, don't pay attention. You just be your own. What you have to do. That's more important than trying to. But like death in the family is the only time we feel bad. That we're all much closer then. We all work together at things that has to be done. And then like people start coming in saying that they're unhappy because a lot of time at that time they used to have the government was taking care of us. They still do, but in our time the government was taking care of us. The police was out there all the time trying to find faults on us and all that. But we always find a way of, getting along and not even bother ourselves with it. What do you want?
My dad wants to borrow the Thunderheart.
Huh?
My dad wants to borrow the Thunderheart movie.
Can you wait till they get through here?
Yeah.
What kind of things made your parents feel happiness or express their happiness? And the things that they taught you about being happy?
I think bringing a new child in a family is what makes us happy, because we're getting another additional in the home. And like my dad has a cattle sale and makes good money, banks it, and he comes home and tells us about it. And that makes us happy too, because we're helping people out with, their needs too, of what we need. And we have to have something on hand to help people out. And that's one of the things that my dad is interested in, is helping the people what they need. And my mom is just the same. She always, like she dries a lot of meat, she dries the corn, she dries the turnips, and she makes a whole, she don't dig it herself, but the women come and help her, and she makes into big boxes to share it with the other people. I noticed that there was one lady in Cherry Creek, her name was Emily Dupree. She's a grandma of Jermaine Means and them. That's her grandma, Molly Annis's mother. And she lived there, and she was herself, so my dad always makes us sure we stop at her house first. And every time something comes up, I'll make sure that she gets the first hand of everything. And there's a couple other ladies too that were living by themselves. And when they get something, well, I'll always be so happy about it, because they'll be down and they don't know who to depend on, and we're so far from the old agency that, and that's what makes me happy, because we were able to help people out. Today, their children are alive now, but they're for themselves. They're not thinking of other people. They just kind of go for themselves. So, like, my mother's kind of glad when she gets all that, Now, where was I?
We were talking about how helping people makes you happy.
Oh, yeah.
It makes you happy.
It makes me happy because, they help us too. Like, the men folks come over and help my dad, and the women folks come over and help my mom. And then in return, she helps them out with what they need. And then they always come back for more. And that's what we like, is to have them keep coming back. And we never worry about running out because we always find a way of, and everything that, like my dad has a big garden, like potatoes and corn and stuff, to make these things. So if people could do that, I think they'd be better off today. I know, like, some women came over and told my mom that they didn't have nothing to eat and they're just starved, so Mom gave them a little of everything. And in return, they gave her little money they had, and she didn't want it. She didn't want the money. She said she didn't have no place to go and spend the money, so then they just gave it to us kids. And we like that. We go. So I think that's what kind of keeps us going all the time. There's never a dull day for us. All this happiness.
Did you have a lot of Wopila? Did you have Wopila ceremonies?
Yeah, we had that like those men folk come back up, we have that Wopila. And everything we do, we have to be thankful. And even our clothing and all what we wear and all that, we have to give thanks to whatever we get. And sometimes out of nowhere, people come in and bring us clothes, which we didn't ask for, but they bring it to us because they want to do something they got from us. So that's how we lived in them days.
You were talking too about how you used to take your children everywhere and how they would sit still and behave and they were quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And so could you share with us about how the people live with quietness and what your mom taught you about quietness, Inila?
She told me that when somebody's talking, people older than us talking, we have to be still, we have to be quiet, be more listening. And we have to listen to what they had to say. And sometimes she said that they say things that will not satisfy us, but not for us to say anything about it. Let them finish. And like if somebody's praying or somebody's talking about God, they want us to be quiet and listen. She said that's more respect than anything else, is to be quiet. She said, so that's how come that quietness kind of got in my family, because the Inwoods were a pretty quiet family. They didn't talk much, and I was the only one talking all the time at that time. So my kids were like their dad; they were quiet. And I know a lot of times my children kind of people do what they do, and I kind of like that, because that's what I want my kids to do, is show something to the other kids that, you know, they'll follow in as they are. And a lot of times they bring these children back to the house and have Kool-Aid or whatever, treat them. And so a lot of boys usually come to the house, you know, and as they grew up, they had a lot of friends. Then I always think that some kids would come and say, my mom said this, my mom said that. I said, don't listen to that. That's not good. And they don't say it anymore. And they're my own niece, or, you know, they're my own relatives that say these things. And then if I bake bread, they could smell my bread all over, so then they start coming in for bread.
There's a lot about that.
That's the way with us. We couldn't talk to anybody unless if we're asked to talk. That's the only time we can talk. Then as the years went by, after I live up here, it's the opposite of the life that I lived. And my children took to that road right away. They're forgetting the teaching that I'm giving them because they see other kids do it and they do it too. Even drinking and all that, they start in after they got out of high school. They start in right after that. But they don't dare to bring it around the house because I don't allow it. My mother said that's not good. So she said that caused more trouble than anything else.
There's another thing you brought up a few minutes ago about people coming in and gossiping, and you discourage that too. That's something that our community needs to know about. Do they call that wioshte?
Huh?
Do they call gossip wioshte?
Wa'aya.
Oh,
Wa'aya means you're gossiping about people or you're talking about somebody, and that's not good. They do a lot of worshita then.
and so how did they teach you about respect and show their respect for others and honor them and teach you about these things?
Igloneha, you know, that's the first thing they taught us since we were little. Igloneha. Hia, etrusne, igloneha. That's what they, don't do that. Respect yourself. Is the first word that I knew that respect meant. Always respect yourself before you, then you respect your children, you respect your husband, you respect your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, down the line, you respect everybody. Even the dogs, even the cats, you respect them. Even the animals, you respect them, because they're like us too, but they can't help themselves. So a lot of times when my children go out to hunt, I'll just tell them to say a prayer or talk to the deer before they get it. Tell them you're hungry, and they give you medicine, and so they bring a deer back. And that, when they bring it back, I do the same thing too. And that's the way we're supposed to do. That's what my mother taught me how to do it, to respect that meat that I got. And even to a rabbit, you have to respect that. Because they're all God's made. He's the one that made all of us equal of the same, so we have to respect one another. And that's the way I live. Some say, oh, you're so old-fashioned. I said, what do you mean by old-fashioned? How about you? What kind of life are you living? You know, because I want to know too. If I'm disrespecting all that, I want to know so I can straighten myself out. And then, like one of my boys, he was drinking, and I told him, I said, you respect yourself, as if you respect yourself. I said, what do you mean by that? I told him. He said, well, you don't even respect me. So I said, I don't need to respect you with your behavior. Once you settle that, then I'll respect you. So he never, afterwards, after he sobered up, I told him what he said, and he said he don't even remember saying that to me. I said, you people, you kids better behave yourselves and better respect yourself before you come back to me. So then, you know, everybody's mom is the first word they say as they come in the door. Mom, I'm here. Mom, I came to see you. And you know, I said, why, good. Where's your children? And they've come in right after them. And they're all in here. And that's one thing about my grandchildren. They think I'm the angel or something. They want to do everything for me. They want to know if I want water. They want to sit me down on a chair and all that. I said, I'm busy. You know, I'm used to walking around. And my mother said, once you lay down for good. As long as you can keep on your feet, keep walking. So that's what I do. I get up and I do what I have to do. By evening, sometimes my legs kind of give out on me, and then I sit down for a while. Other times I'm always up and around. Then the only time I'm in the hospital is to have a child or have surgery. Otherwise, I don't go to the hospital. I take care of myself. That's why I want to know everything that's going on so I can take care of myself.
Would you share a little bit about how when they gather in community, like at the powwows, to honor people?
I'm into so much of that, I don't know which to start with. I know we always respect ourselves to, go to the dance because the drum is the main thing. A drum is talking to you and is telling you what to do. If you listen to that, you dance. The drum makes you dance, no matter what. Even though you don't want to dance all that, you start, keeping time with the drum and all that because that drum is a respectable drum for the Indian people. They use that to wapia, they use that to do anything with it. Once you hit that drum, everybody alerts because they hear that drum, want to know what it's going to be. There's, like you take the national anthem, when you hit that, everybody's prepared for it. My brother made that, him and, what is his name? Two Bulls. He just died recently. Mm-hmm. They were young men then. After World War II, my brother went lived in Pine Ridge. One day he brought a record back, and here he made those songs. He made the words to the national anthem. They still sing the same song, same one. And then they have they call it victory dance for the Indian people. That's a respectable way of doing it. It's a victory dance. And then they have a gathering of the Lakotas dancing. They have the third song for that. They start that when they have an Indian dance. That the first thing they sing is the introduction song, then the national anthem, and then the victory song, and then song for everybody. That's for everybody. So that's what my mother told me, and she sings in that too, so then she tells me all that. And that's how I know about it. So I don't go to Indian dance just to be sitting in there, but I know what they're singing, what they're doing. I pray with that because I had 4 brothers in their service. I had 9 nephews in the service. I have 5 grandchildren in the service. I have all of them in the service. And I'm the only one that they always send me pictures of themselves before they send their parents any pictures. How come you got a picture? I didn't get a picture. And that's a respectable way for these boys to do that for me because they think a lot of me, They respect me for that. And kind of makes me cry once in a while because I'm a human too. That's, they go overseas to die, but they come back alive. And they think that I'm the one that brought them back. And I respect them for that. Because, we pray for them every day. We want them back. And I feel that, and some of them lost their loved ones. I always feel the same about them too, because we have to respect one another. And Mom said, the whole Cheyenne River is your relative. Remember that. She said, no matter who it is, they're your relative, she'd say to me. And when I was going to boarding school, people come to me and say, are you Irish Tom's daughter? Yes, I'm Irish Tom's. Are you, they call her Dear Comes Out, are you her daughter? Yes, I'm her daughter. Well, I'm your grandma, I'm your aunt. To tell me who they are and tell me their relationship. So then I start knowing who they are and all that. So everybody is my relative somehow. And some of these, like the Walters and them, they come over and work with my oldest brother. They work together as young men. They kind of brother each other and all that, so we took them in as a relationship. So that's how come we're related to them. They're from Greenwood or wherever they're from. They're still our relatives. That's the way we take it. There's times that I always wish that people respect one another and really keep it. I think we can be a good nation, because the nation is crying out. We're all fighting among each other, and they don't like that because we're doing that. We need to get together. We need to be in one big ring. We need to help each other. No matter who's saying wrong, we have to tell them what's right. And if it doesn't listen, that's them. But we've done our share telling them. Well, I'll just talk to them about the values of the Indian people, Lakota people, that, you know, first of all, it's the older grandchildren. Some of them are working, some of them haven't had jobs, and there's no jobs for them, but they always have something to do. And that's one thing that we need, jobs around here, so we can get them working, get them something to do. There's a lot of them. Not only my grandchildren, but the other grandchildren. I think if they had a place to go to and work something out, play or whatever, I think it'll help them out. But there's nothing for them to do at all. And that's one of the main reasons that, like I hear there's gangs, I don't know what they are, but they say there's gangs here, there's gangs there, they're damaging things. I've been trying to ask my grandchildren if they're in on that, because I told them that's not good. If they want to be a gang, they should start from their home. Help their parents, do what the parents want them to do, and the parents are they just don't have nothing to do either. And that's why I think that drinking is kind of causing that too. But like I say, my mom told me not to drink. I wouldn't drink even if I had to give me $1,000 to drink, because that's a troublemaker there. And my mother said that this drinking is all from the white men. It's not the Indians themselves, not just today, but in the past. When they first came and had them sign treaties, they got them drunk and had them sign treaties. That's where the drinking already started from. They already brought the drinks into the Lakota people. I heard a story on Red Cloud that they had all his men drunk at one time. These are not good. Even the old people said that they try to help each other to quit all this. And they don't know why they keep drinking it anyway. Then I have grandchildren that they like to go swimming and all that. We can have one here in town where they can go to. They can't go any place. And that's bad, because then we have a youth program going. My son started one up, and he's been busy himself. He can't do everything right now. It's a standstill right now. If others can go in and help him, I think we can help these younger children have something to do for the summer. I know they're trying to get a building up for the young people, to have a place to go to play basketball or do games and stuff. It hasn't started yet. If they get that going, I think that would help. They fixed a goal out here. Nobody plays out here. You know, and where else can they go? They got a volleyball out there in front of the YMCA. That's the only place they go to, but just few of them go there. Eagle Butte has a large young people there. There's schooling and stuff, and they don't go to school. They don't do it. Here, they go to school all right, but it's just that they don't have nothing else to do after they're out of school. And we need to have something going for them because they're the ones that are coming up for the future. And the parents, I think the parents should quit their drinking and see what they can do for their children. That's more important. I took care of my children up to, I was around about 40-some years old. I still had my children in my home. I had 6 or 7 nieces and nephews staying in my home. I took care of them. Their parents are breaking up and all that. Now, I think that it didn't cost me anything to keep them. I just made bread for them, cup of milk, whatever. They survived. But these kids are all working now. They got their own families. They got their own places to stay. You know, the Lakota people, the government just gives us so much. That's all we can say. Like I made my Social Security, whatever I get every month, I earned that. I worked and earned it. But it all goes in the housing I live in, everything I pay for. There's nothing left for me to, I give a little to my grandchildren I keep here. I think we need jobs for our children's parents so they can work and take care of their families. These families can work and take care of them, but they just leave them and go out and drink and have their good time. That's not the way to be a parent. You know, they have to take care of their children. They have to see that their children are in a good place and taken care of right, that they should do what's good for them. You know, that's the main part of it. I never had a babysitter in my life with my children. I took care of them. I took them with me. I even used to clean houses around here. I used to take the 2 youngest ones with me. The baby sleeps all the way through while I'm working, and, you know, the other one would sit around and look at a book or something. They never get into things. And right now, they just leave their kids behind. They just let them go. They should take care of them, keep them under their eyes where they can see what their children are doing. Some of them don't even know. Some of my kids do that. They go to work and come back. They got to go to a baseball game. They got to go someplace, and they take off. I think they need to take their children around, too, so they can see what's going on. They can do what they're doing. I know my kids probably tired of hearing me talk, but I keep at them all the time. As soon as they come in that door, you should do this, you should do that. One of them ever answer me back, I might even do more than just talking. But they listen, but there's nothing they can do about it because they don't have nothing to do. A long time ago, they used to have sewing classes, or, you know, make toys, and in Cherry Creek they had a club going, and the extension club used to give them all chicks so the kids would take care of the chicks, and, you know, they could tell they grew up. And to me it was interesting because the kids would be carrying the chicks and all that. They don't even have nothing today. And I went to the store one time, and I was going in, and here this little boy came up and say, "Madam, you have a quarter?" And I had 2 quarters, so I gave it to him. "Thank you," he said, and he took off. I don't even know who that little boy was. And, you know, to me, the parents should keep them home, you know, and take care of them. That, "Where's your mom?" They went to go be clinic. To have somebody older to take care of them instead of leaving them by themselves. I used to live right out here, the corner here. We had this all fenced and had 2 gates there. And there's no houses around here. Just 2 houses over here belong to Longbreed and Breedwell. They're the only houses in mine. And there was 4 houses there that white people lived there. They finally sold it to the tribe, so then. But they had an old man who used to buy rabbits. So my oldest boys used to go out and bring in rabbits and sell it to him. Him and another boy, his name was Maynard, he's a white boy. One evening he come back with $2. I said, "Where'd you get that?" He said, "I got it from that man that buys rabbits," he said. "Where'd you get the rabbit?" And he said, they'd take him that rabbit and he just lays around and gives him a quarter and then he goes back in. So they'd take that rabbit again and they made $6 out of it, and that boy, the one that was selling, took 4 and gave my boy $2. I made him take it back. No, I don't want to take it. "Oh, you're stealing from that old man. Poor guy, he lives on that." So he took it back, and he never did do that after that. Had the wrong person find out about it. One day I was hanging up clothes in here. He called me over, so I went over. He gave me $10. He said, "Oh, I want to thank you for correcting your son." He said, I said, "No, I don't need it." And he said, "No, you take it for your kids," he said. So. And that's the way the Indian children learn from the white kids too, to do, like they bust a window and think that that's nothing. And then one day one of my boys, I was sick in bed, and here Joe peeked out and said, "Looked like they're fighting one of the boys." So I looked out and here it was Burton. There were 5 of them. So I went out and said, "What's going on?" So they all took off, but I took the license numbers, called the sheriff and reported the boys. So they took us all to the sheriff's office. And they want to know who started all, and 2 of them started it, so they apologized to my boy. And he said, "You could sue them if you want to." I said, "No." I said, "We're poor people, and so are they. They might be white, but they're poor too. That's why they're working." I said, "Now you don't see much of those local people around. You know, they all moved out to Spearfish and the hills. And all these are coming in, and they don't know the Indians that well, that even the school is kind of prejudiced. And but not, I don't know how my kids take it, but they never complain anything. But the other children, they're really complaining to their parents. I used to be a president of the GOM at the school. And we made sure that the Indian children were getting the school supplies, and they were hired. We had 5 Indians working up there. Now you don't see anybody but just that coordinator is the only one that's working out of the GOM now. And there's white people working out of there too. That should be for the Indian. What else am I supposed to tell?
Would you like to share what your parents, a story about your parents and how they taught the children in the family to behave? Maybe this has to do with discipline.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know how to put it, but you know, I've always tell my kids to do what's right, and what's wrong is out of the question for them. They have to do what they're told. If they don't, I have a way of punishing them so they don't do things out of the way. They're honest of their own. If they've done something wrong, right away they come and tell me, and I correct it right away so it don't go any further. And some people, they even fight right out here. They, you know, other children fight. The parents don't do nothing about it, and they have to. They're their children, you know. They have to do something. And then, like, I have grandchildren, but discipline, I make their parents do that. They don't put that on me. I'm just a grandma sitting here, so they have to do their discipline with them. I think that's what we need in the homes now too, is discipline your children. Make them tell them who's the boss. And that way they'll know something. I've been to a couple places where the children are running over their parents. That's not the way it should go at all. That's one thing my children, I got a lot of them, but they don't talk back to me or tell me to go jump in the lake or stuff like that, that I hear the other kids say to their parents, and the parents just don't say nothing because they're drinking and they're doing wrong too. That, you know, the children don't even have respect for them. That's where the respects come in again. I know I was asked about the gang one time, and if you know who they are, can you do something about it? They said. So I said, I think it's up to the parents. It's up to the parents to take care of these boys or girls, whoever the gang are. They're the ones that have to take care of them. And the law should take care of the parents too, besides the children. That way they'll correct them. I hope I'm right about that, because I always go back to the parents.
Can you give some advice to the parents then whose children are not behaving? Can you give them some words of advice on how maybe they can teach their children?
Well, the only thing that I can say is if they're going to let their children be in a gang and all that, they're going to have to move away from the community, because the community is where it's starting from, and that needs to find them a place somewhere else, out in the country or wherever, or whatever they want to do. But being in the community, they have to get along. They got to work together. There's money in the breaking of windows or cars and stuff. There's money into that, and they have to cut that out. They don't have the money. And you can ask the child why he's doing this. Maybe he might tell why he's doing this and correct that from there. I know I've seen one boy who was really talking, and I kind of told him about have you got parents? He said, yeah. They ever talk to you? No, I don't know where they're at. They're not home. Your parents take care of you so you wouldn't be out like this. You might get hurt by doing this, I told him. And he was going to go, but he turned around and he shook hands with me. Thanks for talking to me, he said, and he left. But I heard some of the bad things about, that he said that didn't sound good for a young boy to be talking like that on the phone. He come in all kind of muscle-like and phone, and after I talked to him like that, he shook hands with me, and he went out the door, and I don't know, I didn't see him which way he went, but he went out the door. There's a, remember they always sell things on the highway there by the store? One time there was one across the road there, and they had knives and stuff like that on there. Here some little boys came, and he said, you know, let's buy some of this. Well, you could use this tonight. And here he had those knives and stuff. So I said, I know who they are. So I said, say, are you in a gang too? So he looked at me. No, he said, he just ran off. So all the boys ran after him. And one of them was trying to take the knife, put it in his pocket. But he didn't even get a chance because everybody started running. And then the parents are working. That's the main thing. The parents aren't working, so they're by themselves. They should have somebody take care of them, or watch them. Or I talked to the mother, and she said she corrected them, and she said, I didn't know they were doing that. She said, they better cut it out. I know in my own way, if one talked back to me, I tell them, you talk back one more time, I don't want you in my house. So then they don't talk back to me, so I don't know how to treat them. So I think I talk before they do anything like that. I correct them before. And then they know me well, so then they're kind of scared of me. I said, I don't care if you're 50 years old and I'm 100 years old, I still can use a whip on you. I have to say that whenever I know I'm going to have problems with them. And they respect me for it too. They don't, do anything out of the way. But I got 3 grandsons from Arizona. They're part Navajos. One of them's a little quick-tempered. He don't look at his brothers for anything. He just whacked them right now. So I've been talking to him. I said, the Indian people don't do that. They get along with each other. How come you're like that? I don't know. I said, better try to stop that. Well, the value that talk to the young people would be education. The education's more important than anything else. Even that, there is some mistakes there too in the education line. So you have to kind of educate them yourself somehow to have them understand what you mean by it. I know my children all went to school, and they had their ups and downs too, but when they come in that door, they're different, they act different from being outside. So whatever they do out there is their business, it's not mine. I'll tell them that. If you get in trouble, you ask for it. I can't help you. So they don't get in trouble. I just tell them, that's... One thing I really talk to my boys about is if anybody looks up to you, try the positive life. Not, you just let them know that what's good for them, and that way, they'll be out of trouble. I have some relatives that they stick up for their children, but I always tell them, if you see them, you report them. No matter who they are. Even if it's one of mine, you report them. Because I don't allow that around my house. Then if the police would do their jobs, I think it'll do people good too. I don't think the police are taking too seriously of anything. One time I had one of my boys went visiting, he came back and here the cops came and he was sitting in the car, so I went up to him and I said, "Where you been?" He said, "I've been over to Vienna's." I said, "I suppose they're drinking. You should stay out of places where they're drinking." By then this cop came and jerked him out of the car and he used mace on him and I was standing there, so he just hit me. I said, what did I do that you maced my face?" And he looked at me and, "I'm sorry." I said, you're going to lose your job. I'm going to report you." I said, so he got in the car and he left and another cop came and got him. I said, "You guys better do your job right, not do something that will hurt somebody else." And here that guy went and got his transfer to Montana. So he got transferred out of here. He wasn't from here, he was from North Dakota. If I had one that done wrong and did correct him and all that, I'd know, but you know, they're of age when they do wrong, so for the young children, I don't know just what could be done. See, I don't know it all.
Even gambling addictions.
Well, like today, they all say, you know, I'm a Lakota, and if there are Lakotas, you don't have alcohol and that stuff in you at all, because that's what makes you what you are. And to me, it's all learned from the white men that alcohol and drug and all this is coming from, because the Indians never knew about it. If they did know about it, they use it in the right way for people's health and all that. This drug, this marijuana, that's been used for people for in their health all these years. They never did. Now they know they can drink it, so they drink it and it makes them numb, because that's a medicine they use to cure the disease or whatever you have. That's why it makes it. And I think that's why all this has been used. And our children didn't know about it until a white guy showed them how to do it, smoke it and all that. And then the Indian, he doesn't know. But I know my kids start drinking when they went to college. They use drugs, they use alcohol in college. So I always blame that to the white men. Because, you know, they don't drink at home. If they do, not around me. I asked one boy, he's my nephew, I said, "What makes you drink?" "Oh, I like to drink because it makes me numb and I don't care if I get slapped or anything, it doesn't feel." I said, "Well, that's no way to live. You gotta feel yourself. You gotta know what you're doing. That way you'll be a man. This way you're a sissy." I told him. Here he quit drinking when I said that to him. And his mother said, "I don't know what his aunt said to him, but he sure don't like boys drinking," he said. And you know, I always tell him, you know, I'm in business. I have all these, I got mostly boys, and they get in trouble. I said, if you get in trouble for something that you did, you're going to pay for it in jail. You're not going to be home. I said, I don't allow that. And I said, "Oh, you're a mean mother." Now some of them thank me for, you know, helping them stay away from it. Like my mother told us, stay away from the drinks. That's not for you. You're a woman. You're a mother. You'll be a mother. You'll be a grandma. You're there to give them advice, and whatever is wrong, you don't allow it at all, she said. And then, like abusing and all that, I see a lot of that, but I don't know how to. Especially if they keep it from you, you don't know if they're being abused and all that. I know one of them was my niece. She told me that she'd been abused by her brother, and she didn't want to tell anybody because that's her brother. And I said, you better do something about it. It's going to get worse. And she said, well, I don't want my folks to know because they know he's going to really get mad and all that. So I said, if it's killing's done in it, that's what it's doing it. So you better do something about it. He either has to move out of there. If he's of age, he's got to move out of there. So can't be staying around there. And then I know child abuse, the little ones. That's one thing I don't like to see is get a child get slapped for nothing or get pushed out the door for nothing. Those are not the way to raise children. You're supposed to grab them by their arm or hand and sit them down someplace, give them something to do. They start doing it, they forget. They're little ones, they forget things. But the older ones, you have to talk to them. Even if you have to holler at them, you have to talk to them. They know right from wrong. They don't have to be doing it just because it's satisfying them. That's not the way it's supposed to be. I know when I was little, if I did something wrong, my mother always sit me down and tell me that's not right. You should do it this way, you should do that way. And I don't even know if I did it wrong or not, but you know, sometimes they blame me for something and she gets it out of me. I told her, I said, you know, I try to listen to you, and if you're going to listen to somebody else and punish me for nothing, I said, I don't want to stay here. So then she quit doing that.